up, everyone? This is Cedric, skycedi.
And I'm Alex.
And we are here today, as you can see. We are about to snack on some wonderful, delicious, what do you call these? Jamaican treats?
Snacks?
Snacks? Yeah, we're about to snack on some snacks.
Yeah, we got some crackers, we got some bread, we got some jam, we got some tea.
So I know this seems a little bit random to have Jamaican snacks, especially on my channel, but the reason why we are doing this is because one of our mutual subscribers actually came and visited Korea a couple of weeks ago and decided to give us some treats. And he is of Jamaican descent. He is also an American. And so we thought it'd be interesting for us to actually try these snacks, and also even more fitting for us to talk about the topic of cultural exchange and also cultural appreciation. I love to talk about culture, and I love it when people are interested in other cultures. I love it when you guys are very interested in Korean culture as well, and so that's something that we talk about on this channel, so it'd be a perfect time to really dive a little bit deeper into that. And also with me and Alex, we can actually try and appreciate some snacks from another culture. So that's what we're gonna do today. Big shouts out to Dimitri. Thank you so much for this. And
thank you.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dig in. Okay, cool. So we don't have really a plan of attack for this, so why don't we just dig in, and I'll let you choose the first.
We cheers first.
Okay, let's cheers first, all right.
No, that's really caring, because he saw my video of me giving up coffee, so I can have this.
That's right, so it's because of you we have this.
Because of me.
Let's talk a little bit about cultural appreciation and why it's important. I think it's really important for the cultural exchange and appreciation because I'm a product of it. Quite literally, right? My mom and dad are from two different cultures, and they exchanged cultures. Yeah. And let's just leave it at that.
The cultures merged and Cedric was born.
Yes, yeah. I think it's a beautiful thing because I was able to grow up in a household with two different cultures, and I was able to see my parents interact and share each other's cultures, and whether they knew they were doing it or not, because a culture is really a part of the person, right? It's not something that you have to really think about. And so when you have two people who are sharing the same lives together now, that exchange naturally happens. And you know, with me, it was really cool to see that because I got to experience food from different cultures. I got to experience music. I got to experience just ways of doing things. And I really appreciate it because I feel like I have a much bigger view of the world, I think, because of that.
For sure. All of my interactions with other cultures has been kind of like post-birth. My parents' culture merging was like, you know, white farmer merges with white poor suburban. So yeah, they're similar. But I got to experience like different sides of that culture in America. But then when we were 3, I moved to Japan. My dad worked for Honda, and he just transferred out there. We all went for 3 years. And so throughout my life, a lot of the times that I had any cultural immersion or had a chance to appreciate another culture, it's always been, I don't want to say forced, but it hasn't come naturally. Like, you are naturally born into this family. So for me, I would always have to go out of my way. Like, I went to a Catholic middle school, elementary, high school, white bread, university even. Like, it was a pure bunch of white kids, you know, from the suburbs. It wasn't until I came to Korea that I had my second true experience outside of that. So I bring a different perspective to this conversation, but hopefully more of like an open-minded, I can learn something from this kind of stuff.
Right. And I think it's very evident, like whenever people talk to you or they get to know you, they can see that you have a pretty big view of the world as well because of that. As a result of growing up in Japan for a few years, and then, you know, in your adult years coming to Korea, having been here for how long?
10 years.
10 years.
Almost 10 years.
It's crazy. 1/3 of your life, man. Was I supposed to give that away?
No, it's cool. I've been, well, if you count Japan, I've been in Asia over 1/3 of my life.
That's crazy.
That is actually crazy.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and open up the first snack.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with something simple? I saw some coconut cookies or something. Coconut cookie.
Okay, so Dimitri, I'm going to try this because of you, but I'll let you know that I've always hated coconut growing up.
No, we can try this one then. Oh, you know what? No,
I'm gonna
culturally appreciate that coconut.
Exactly, I'm gonna try it.
Go.
And it's not so much the taste. I think it's the texture, like the coconut shavings. I'm just not a fan of.
You're fine.
This is probably good. Okay, so I'll do the honors. Now, this is just called, what's the brand? Butterkist, yeah. I can't even read.
K-I-S-T.
All right, let's see what this is all about. Oh, nice. It's like individually packed.
Let's do it. Ready? Smell test?
Yep.
Smells like coconut. It smells like a coconut cracker, but really good. I like it.
There's no like signs of coconut texture.
No shavings of coconut in there.
So this is actually good. I like it.
So the only way that I ever, especially anyone out there who happens to be like white from the suburbs or from the countryside, whatever, in America, a lot of times the only way to really be able to appreciate another culture is to take yourself out of the comfort zone and try something that you wouldn't expect, a coconut cookie or whatever it may be. Or maybe it's as simple, honestly, sometimes as going to the local, let's say, Mexican restaurant that is actually run by Mexican immigrants in the US. You know, those are the ways you have to go out there and get out of your comfort zone in order to have that appreciation. Otherwise, you know, the reason people stay in the bubble, especially in America, is that it's just easy. Right. It's so easy to stay in the bubble. I mean, people that come to Korea, they just stay in Itaewon, right?
Yeah.
And so, for that reason, a lot of it is trying something that, you know, you used to not like coconut, so I don't know if that's for me, but the only way to really push out of your bubble, if you want to be open-minded, is to do that.
Right, and that's a great way to connect with people of the other culture because they're going to see it and appreciate it. So if you come to Korea, for example, and you really open yourself up to trying the different foods, because food is a big part of the culture, I think the people who make the food, or if you go to a restaurant, for example, they're going to appreciate that.
Yeah. And then they do it with Korean language as well, just putting in a little bit of Korean studying. I know we've talked about it before, but the more Korean language you learn, the more that Koreans actually open their arms to you. And so that's what I've learned here.
Now, why don't we go to the Ovaltine cookies?
Wasn't there like a coffee brand or something?
No, you know what? So I'm wondering...
Hot chocolate?
I didn't do any research on this, but I'm wondering if this is the same Ovaltine that when we grew up in the States, there were those commercials. More Ovaltine, please.
Mom, we're back! Who wants Ovaltine?
Me! More Ovaltine, please!
So we are gonna have delicious barley snack.
Is this from the same company? Packaging looks very similar.
I think that's Butter Kiss and this is Ovaltine. I think they're different.
Oh, Ovaltine is the brand, I guess.
I mean, granted, they're all like ruled by two snack companies, Nestle and someone else.
Conglomerate.
All right, let's get two of the ones that aren't correct.
All right, thanks. Smell test.
Done.
There you go.
Cracker time sounds very inappropriate coming from me as I talk about cultural appreciation. It's cracker time!
I like this too. It's quite similar to the coconut, but
it has I don't want to say a blender taste, but it's something that would go good with a coffee or a hot chocolate. I think it'd be a great snack to complement something like that. Good start there from the snacks brought to you by Jamaica.
How about, let's go back to when you were in Japan. I mean, that was so long ago, but did you really notice a difference as a kid? From living life in America, in Ohio, I'm assuming is where you moved from, right?
Right.
And then moving to Japan, was it a big culture shock for you?
Well, so interestingly, because I had my very first memories in America, but most of my, let's say, video memories were from Japan.
Oh, okay.
So actually coming back to the US is where I had the most culture shock. Japanese language doesn't allow you to really learn how to properly say R's as well. I couldn't say S, TH, R, L, and like a few other as well. It'd be because it's you know, it's arigato, not arigato, right?
Right.
And so I never learned really how to say R. I'd be the one that would say the W sound because I couldn't pronounce the R correctly.
Yeah.
Not in Japan, in America, right? So a weeder. I'm a good weeder. I can read lots of books, like that kind of stuff. So for me, yes, there was a huge difference, and I had to go through speech therapy for the first couple of years, and still to this day, I sometimes catch myself saying really, you know, things like that.
Oh, that's cute. I never caught that.
It's adorable. It took me a while, but I got out of that habit. So coming from there to the States is very different. It was interesting because I went from a homogenous society back into a homogenous society.
Sure.
Except I was the outsider, but when you're in fourth grade, or when you're 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 year old, kids don't care as much.
Right.
And I spoke Japanese by the end of that term, so you know, I didn't really feel that until I came to America in like middle school when people, even I guess in elementary school, people would be like, oh, it's the Japanese girl, it's the black kid in the grade below us. That's when I started to notice the race issues. I would say sometime in the middle of university when I was in clubs or organizations that were more diverse than the general school population that I started to kind of realize what kind of bubble I had been in the whole time.
As a kid, you don't really have that self-awareness from a cultural standpoint in terms of comparing yourself to others. Because it was the same with me until middle school, I would say. That was when I realized, oh, there's really a difference between cultures. You know, I remember having a best friend growing up. He was Panamanian. I remember just thinking, oh, this is cool. Their house does things differently. They speak Spanish, but I never really made a distinction like, oh, we're different. And it wasn't until middle school where I guess I developed more of that self-awareness and comparing myself to others where that became even an issue. And just for me, like just having these identity issues, like, okay, who am I then? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of kids who come from multi-ethnic households. I mean, I knew a good handful, but I mean, compared to the majority. Right. So I did feel different. So that was a challenge. But it wasn't until later where I was able to actually begin to appreciate that. And I think it was high school.
That is cool, the way you put it. Like, I think it's interesting how sometimes we feel different. Whether, for me, I guess I'm in Korea as a white person, or in your case, it's growing up and being different. Whether it's from, you know, associating with one ethnicity or another, or just being the person who has both.
Yeah.
But you feel different, and it's not until later in life, maybe even beyond high school, where we start to appreciate that difference.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, when did you first start to appreciate, like, maybe not first start to, but when did you realize, like, this is my advantage?
So I would say it wasn't until after maybe 9th or 10th grade where I began to develop more of an appreciation for Korean culture. Because again, growing up as a kid, I had both cultures. It was just normal for me to see that, right?
So you shifted towards, if I could say, black culture, and then it wasn't until high school that you started opening up back to...
Yes.
You didn't go full Korean culture, you started to embrace both.
Exactly, because in middle school, most of my friends, I guess just the demographics of where we grew up, was more African-American culture, and so I just, because they were the people I hung out with, at school, that's just all I knew. But then when I would come home, you know, my mom was just my mom, and so I came back to a mostly Korean household, because my mom, she ran the house. But yeah, it was high school where I was just like, you know what? I want to be able to appreciate who I am, because I still wanted to discover who I was as a person. Right. That was the journey beginning at that point. So I would say me getting back into Korean music, actually going to Korean church as well, really helped, because I was around other half Koreans and Koreans, and just beginning to see that my culture was awesome as well. Because I remember growing up, people would call me the Black Chinaman, or they would call me, you know, the Asian one, right? And I almost took that as a sign of, you know, just, I don't know, an insult, right? In which most of the time it was meant as an insult, but I began to really appreciate that side of me, because I'm like, you know what? Each culture, each side of me, it's beautiful. It has very good points, and each culture also has, you know, maybe some downsides as well.
Sure.
But it's just great because I was different, and I began to appreciate that difference. All right, so we're gonna open this up right here, and according to Dimitri, we needed to eat this with cheese.
Oh.
Okay, so it looks like, all right, so I'm gonna have to get my knife out. So, do you have a plate on you by chance?
Well, I happen to carry one with me all the time.
All right, so why don't we put this on the plate? Don't do that, please. All right, I'll let you do that, and I'm gonna go get a knife.
Okay.
Oh, but I was saying, yeah, Dimitri says that we need to eat this with cheese.
Got it.
The bad thing about Korea, I would say, is there's not a lot of options for cheese.
You gotta go to expensive stores.
Yeah.
I want to appreciate that cheese culture.
There are only 2 types of cheese at the market that I went to. So this is cheddar. So hopefully this will work.
Knife up.
Here we go. Man, this smells good.
Do it.
All right.
Cut it.
So we eat this with cheese. We also have this guava jelly as well. This isn't like regular white bread. Okay, so I think 4 slices is plenty. Let's make this look nice. And then the other slice, what we can do is put the guava jelly on there.
Go. Appreciate that. Yeah. Pumpkin? Or like a squash taste or something?
Spicy, like a spicy
cinnamon, or
not a like spicy like it's hot, but like
cinnamon.
Yeah, like a cinnamony.
Yeah, I feel like getting a bit of Christmas in here.
Now this I can do. All right, so this is called spice bun. Look at that, spice bun.
You can tell we did our homework beforehand.
An original Jamaican product.
It was good.
So this is an old Jamaican favorite, traditionally served sliced with cheese. Bam. Alternatively, toast and enjoy with your favorite spread. So I think it will be helpful for all of us to just kind of learn from each other. How do you appreciate another culture, and how can you benefit from cultural exchange?
So this is the fun part. The two words are very similar. The difference between cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation.
Ooh. Want to talk about that? Or?
As a white man, I feel like I should white mansplain the hell out of this. But in general, what it means is cultural appreciation is what it is, really appreciating another culture. And then if you go on, it's really for what that culture is. And you're not exploiting it, you're learning from it, you may become a part of it, but it's appreciating it in a respectful way. Cultural appropriation is when you take parts of other people's culture and either pretend it's your own or profit off of it. Right. So that's the main difference. Appropriation is exploiting it, and appreciation is appreciating it.
You can see this in music, right? There's a big debate, and I mean, it's kind of age-old now, about like hip-hop music, you know, where that originated from.
From Vanilla Ice. No, I'm kidding. Definitely not from him.
You know, where do you draw the line with artists who appreciate hip-hop culture, right? Because there's no question where it originated from. And where do you draw the line with artists appreciating that and actually appropriating that? And I think that's kind of the battle that we see these days. And we've been seeing it for a while, you know, even the Vanilla Ice days. That was decades ago.
It's really about, one, what have you done to earn the right to do it? You know, did you grow up, you know, where Eminem grew up, versus were you put in there by someone to just make money for Ice Ice Baby? I'm not saying that Eminem didn't, like, I don't know that debate, but in general we have that debate with Korean K-pop too. You know, they take a lot of elements from hip-hop, but they take a lot of elements from EDM, and they just think whatever's cool is cool without understanding the background of how hip-hop originated. So can you, and how do you, appreciate other cultures without taking it? And I think, going back full circle, it's about getting out of your comfort zone and really diving into that culture and learning about it. You know, not just taking something you see and you know, doing selfies at the Holocaust Museum because you don't know anything about the culture. You know, the embarrassing stuff that we see like that. It's really about learning as much as you can and really appreciating it from an academic sense, but also a respect sense. You learn more about other people when you do that. You don't just learn about what a handbook is. You learn about the people and what the handbook meant to those people.
You learn the history of a people or a people group or a culture. That goes a long way, because number one, you'll be able to not only understand the culture a little bit better, but you'll be able to be more empathetic. Big example of this is Korea has gone through a lot in the past 100 years as a country. And there's been a lot of economic development, but what a lot of people don't know, especially those that come into Korean culture through maybe K-pop and through, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but through maybe a little bit more superficial means. A lot of them don't know the history behind why K-pop is what it is, and you know, where Korea came from as a nation and where Korea was just 60 years ago, right? What my mom was born into. She was born in the middle of the Korean War, right? And just how desolate Korea as a nation was. And when you begin to understand the history of that, and then even going back before that, the Japanese occupation, right? The decades of that, you will begin to understand why a lot of Korean people are the way they are and why they think the way they think, especially the older generations. And you can be a little bit more empathetic. Doesn't mean you know, mindsets are right all the time or anything like that. They can be flat out wrong, but if you study the history, you can begin to understand that and be a little bit more patient with people, I think. And then you can begin to have a dialogue with these people. When it comes to cultures and learning other cultures, a big element is to get to know the people of the culture. If you want to get to know the culture on a macro level, on a micro scale, get to know the people, the individuals of the culture. Now, everyone within a culture, depending on the culture, may not be all the same, right? They may not all have the same mindsets. And so that's something that I've been learning here. A lot of the younger generation Koreans are very individualistic in their thinking, more so than I thought, because the Korea that I expected was really from my mom's generation, where almost all the ideas, or most of the ideals, were very similar. Correct. And so I think if you want to get to know the culture as a whole, get to know the people individually. And to Alex's point, listen and talk to them, right? And I think that's where that connection and that exchange will truly happen. And as a result, you're gonna be able to appreciate each other. Alex, where can people find you? I think a lot of people know who you are, but in case you don't, where can they find you?
You can find me under my YouTube name of Alex Sigrist, S-I-G-R-I-S-T. That's just my name, and it's basically like a talk show, just a no-cut talk show. He's on there a lot, and we talk about life, we talk about culture, and whatever comes to mind that day.
If you're not subscribed to this channel, and if you're into Korean culture or want to learn a little bit more about Korea or the culture, make sure you hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, all right? Guys, we'll see you in the next video, and remember to always seize the day. Peace.